Grab your scabbards, DIY friends, because this just might be the most epic, nerdiest, and most magical makeover I've ever tackled. After months of planning and only 2 weeks to bring it all to life, I threw everything I had, DIY skills, creativity, and full-blown fantasy fandom into transforming this small business owner's studio into a world where the Valkyrie Collection could truly exist. We're talking function, fashion, and one-of-a-kind builds fit for a Viking goddess. Yeah, I just hope it all goes to plan.
Oh my God. Editor, rolls the tape. Boop.
This video is sponsored by Milano. DIY friends, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't gathered from the intro and thumbnail, we are doing a nerdy makeover for my new friend Megan, who is the owner of the custom fantasy clothing company called Valkyrie Collection. She is a badass one-woman business who started as a cosplayer who wanted to channel her creative passion through creating historically inspired and fantasy-filled garments that you're not going to find in any basic store. Now, through the Valkyrie Collection, she sells capelets and dresses, mini dresses, skirts, pinafores, aprons, tunics, cloaks, and jackets. So a few months back, Megan reached out to me and she said, "Hey Danie, I just moved into a brand new studio space and it just doesn't reflect my fantasy-filled business, and I need you to help me bring the fantasy to this space." And I gotta say, I don't think I've ever said yes to something so fast in my life. I mean, I just want to help build Megan a space where she can live in her fantasy world in the same way that she helps others live in theirs. So let's talk about the studio space, shall we? Megan's new studio was around 375 square feet, I would say. There were a few unique alcoves and nooks in this space, but honestly, it was pretty awesome. It was in an old industrial building. The space was painted all white, ceilings included, which made for a great empty canvas for us. It had dark brown vinyl plank flooring, which was perfect. We don't need to make changes to that. As you can see, Megan had just moved in. I mean, nothing had its place yet. I loved the large windows and just how much light it let in. It's a huge bonus and something I do not want to take away from this space. So when I went to visit the space for the first time, it was important to me to see how Megan used the space and what her daily routines would look like in it. Like, how did she plan to use this space? Understanding what elements were the most important to her only just helped me gain insight in terms of what was the best design possible to suit her day-to-day needs. Once we understand the fundamentals, the fantasy can get built around that. So once I was done measuring everything, I felt very confident that I had a good idea with what the space could offer. And of course, obviously, I did some shopping for myself. Obviously. So after seeing the studio space, honestly, I had so many ideas noodling up in my head, but I'm gonna pull up our Milano project board that we use to communicate back and forth throughout this entire project. Whenever I start a creative project, especially big transformations like this one, I always begin with organizing my ideas in Milano. I personally love to use Milano to do this because it's completely visual, and if you are a visual person like me, then this is definitely the tool for you. I carry Milano on my phone, it's on my computer, it's on my tablet. Now, on our shared project board, Megan laid out her wish list, her project priorities, pain points, decor she already has, what she wants. She also showed me brand photos for inspiration and photos of the studio space with measurements and inspiration photos to inspire the brainstorming process. As you can see, we have very whimsical, elegant, feminine spaces here. Lots of natural wood details, stone details, greenery, leaded lattice windows. It's really just a mix of historical spaces, but also cater to a touch of vintage and, dare I say, romantasy. Very magical. So yeah, Milano is just my favorite tool on this planet. It's super flexible and intuitive, and it's not like traditional software out there. You can tell it was a tool made for creatives by creatives. It genuinely feels like a real digital corkboard in your studio where you can pin ideas and thoughts to plan your creative projects. I mean, I use it to run my entire creative business. I'm using it to brainstorm DIY projects, plan videos, share collaborative ideas. I share a ton of personal things too. I have a whole board dedicated to tattoos that I want, photos I want to paint. I planned my wedding using it, my garage. Oh my God, just everything. If you are a content creator, designer, or anyone managing a creative project, Milano has over 100 built-in templates to get you started. They also have a super handy web clipper tool that allows you to quickly take any inspiration photos from any website or platform on the web and easily add it to your boards with one click. It is free to use with no time limit, so if this sounds like a tool you would love, use the link in my description and start your board today. Thanks Milano for sponsoring this video. So I want to show you the original sketch that I presented to Megan, which honestly changed so much, but for the sake of all of us understanding my original vision, here it is. So what I wanted to do was bring the fantasy world into the front area of the studio space. One of her inspo photos showed these alcoves above the clothing, and I just loved it. Megan has a lot of decor pieces and props, so I thought building these faux stone alcoves above the racks could be a great place to keep these pieces and really just use that vertical space. I wanted to create 2 racks on each side of the window, a long sewing table in front of the window, and then the studio had this like small little nook that I felt was such a great place to make storage and store all of her extra sewing machines, add shelves for extra notions, you know, etc. The sewing stuff. Now the current white ceilings were great. They were great, but bringing back a more natural wood detail on the ceiling would be way more fun and cozy and historically accurate. And then in the middle of the room, I would either build or find a new work table because the one that Megan currently had, it worked, but it definitely didn't serve her aesthetic. And you know what? This is a woman that deserves a work table fit for a queen, a Viking queen, a Valkyrie. This was no simple task, but I was up for the challenge. So I had only 2 weeks to pull this off, and Megan was willing to put in some early elbow grease to help pull this off. So ahead of time, Megan painted her entire studio for me using that faux lime wash detail, and she ended up painting the ceiling in the back area a warm brown just to give it the look of wood. I mean, it was wood, but it would have been a nightmare to strip all of that white paint off just for that wood detail. So we just picked a brown that we like and just painted the ceiling in that color, and then sprayed any of the exposed pipes in the same color to just let them disappear. But that lime wash detail, it was just, looked so good. But I gotta say, watching Megan paint in those beautiful dresses brought forward mixed levels of joy and confusion all in one motion. That woman is one true Valkyrie. That's all I'm gonna say. Honestly, I'm just so grateful that she was willing to do that to help see this vision come forward, because this space was gonna be great. She be a good day. Friends, we got so much to do this week. I am taking my build week day by day because I don't think I've ever had so much to accomplish in such a short amount of time, but we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it, we're gonna do it, and I'm not gonna procrastinate once, I swear. So, I have my plans in front of me. Today, I'm going to be building a sewing table slash bench that's gonna sit underneath the window that Megan is gonna use to sew at. So we need to make this high enough that she can, you know, comfortably sit at it, but low enough that she can sit at it. Well said, chap. Well said. So to build my sewing bench, I was using a rough 2x8x12 for the top, and the base would be built with 2x4. Now, I didn't feel confident that I could make furniture look Norwegian in design, but I thought as long as I could make it feel like it lived in like an old clothing warehouse or atelier, I would be happy with that. So I used this photo as my reference for the bench. I don't know, I kind of like the little dado joint joint on the cross supports on the legs and the kind of the varying wood directions for the top. And I just thought this looks like it would live in an old warehouse or workshop of any kind. So that would work for me. I don't know. So I drew up my plans and I got to work. I went with rough pine for the top because, well, one, it saved on cost and I had all the tools to prep it. Plus, I really wanted this bench to have a rustic appeal to it. So starting with rough wood allowed me to kind of control just how nice this bench would look, so to speak. So while I was busy building the bench, Vanessa was prepping other DIY elements behind the scenes, like the clothing racks, which were being made up of 48-inch black iron pipes. Listen, I would love to say that you can just walk into the hardware store and buy these pipes off the shelf and just start using them right away. But sadly, this is not the case. If you handle these pipes with your bare hands, you will be left with an icky black residue, which is a reaction between the iron and the oils, which makes iron sulfide. We don't want this on Megan's clothes. So we have to prep them, cleaning them of any greases and oils and anything residual. Then we'd sand the surface really well, clean them again, and then we seal them with a strong clear coat. And honestly, this works for me every single time. Now moving back to my bench base, like I mentioned, I was building this out of 2x4 lumber. I wanted the cross supports on the legs to be a dado joint, so I used my plunge saw and track to create small cuts at the exact depth I needed many times over in that groove. And then once all the cuts were done, I used a chisel to remove any bits left behind and sanded it smooth using a sanding block. Okay friends, check this out. I needed to find a coffee table and we managed to find this one secondhand and it's so beautiful. It's completely raw, so it's like kind of just ready to be sanded and stained, and that's awesome. It's got a few bumps and bruises on it, but like as far as like a secondhand piece goes, this piece takes the cake. It's got beautiful leg detail. I love the shape. I just thought this would be so beautiful in front of her Victorian style couch, so it's gonna be absolutely lovely. I got this table for a steal. So Vanessa gave it a good healthy sanding to remove any of the blemishes and general wear and tear. Then we stained it with Jacobean, which is a beautiful warm brown with a hint of a red undertone. I simply love it. And my bench was also stained with the same color. My goodness, it was only day 2 and I was already feeling the stress of getting everything done. I mean, I started my day with sanding and prepping the top for staining, which, you guessed it, got the same warm Jacobean stain. It just never does me wrong. It is such a great color tone. Ugh, I'm such a fan. Day 2 was about building the clothing display racks. Now, in my original photo, I was planning to create some kind of like faux stone wall detail, but later changed my mind and went with 4x4 Douglas fir wood beams to give it kind of a real old-timey shop feel. These did come rough, which again just saved on cost and allowed me to decide how rustic I wanted them to feel. So while I was working on that, Vanessa got started on prepping the wood rack, which was donated by me. This IKEA shelf used to live in my old studio, but I'm passing it along to Megan for her space so she can house all of her extra clothing sizes and deliverables. Honestly, it was just perfect and I didn't need it anymore, so she might as well have it. Go miss your shelf, you did me good. But now it's over. Okay. Listen, don't be shellfish, because I'm giving the shelf love. No. Like my bench, the cross pieces would be secured with a dado joint, so I lined up all my 4x4 pieces and using my plunge saw, I just started cutting lots of small cuts across the sections that needed to be removed. At the end of the day, my bud Josh showed up to pick up his wifey, and instead I put him to work and got him to help me plane my 4x4 pieces to remove some of the wood fuzz. That's what I like to call it, the wood fuzz. You guys know what I mean when you touch it and it feels like kind of furry? Yeah, we needed to remove that. I kept them rough looking, but I didn't need them to be splinter worthy, you know what I mean? So basically the planer was just simply removing a very fine, thin top layer. That way we can keep the charm, but not lose the rustic appeal of it. And then to end the day, Vanessa sanded and stained some wood shelves, and it was a very long and productive day. So build day 3 was all about getting those alcove shelves built. To keep them light, I was building them out of 1/2-inch plywood, nothing fancy or expensive. This is your regular builder grade plywood. I was basically just cutting wood and building boxes. It's what we do on this channel, we build boxes. These boxes really didn't need to be overthought. I was just cutting them to the size and screwing them together. What? And basically my entire day was just building boxes and cutting alcoves. I had 4 different size boxes to build, so it really did take all day long. Day 4, and I was ready to cut some foam. Things were really moving well. All the beams looked great. They just needed a finish on them, and the alcoves were half done. Now, I have to say though, this was the one part of the project that I probably was the most nervous for because I had just never done it before. I mean, I watched a bunch of videos. I consulted Papa Burger, who was well versed in the faux stone making space. And I gotta say, he did give me some good tips, but the best thing he did was give me his foam cutting knife, which made cutting through the foam so easy. Thank you, Faja. Now, I ended up doing the smallest alcove off camera because I couldn't imagine doing the very first one on camera. It was just prone to get messy. So I needed to build my confidence first, you know what I mean? But honestly, I don't think it turned out too bad. All the stone detail was carved out using a combination of a Dremel and an old soldering iron that I had no issue getting destroyed. And then I layered the top with a drywall compound. So honestly, I was feeling pretty good and I was ready to tackle the larger ones. Had my confidence back. Now around the alcoves, I cut some small rock details. Then I just drew out my rock pattern and started carving using the Dremel. You know, I did learn there are many ways to cut and build out faux stone. A lot of people recommended that you would like cut individual stones and then place them onto another foam board, but I didn't have time for that, and I just thought this technique would work, and honestly, I think it did. I mean, the Dremel was great, but I would say it definitely killed my hands after a long period of time. The muscle in my hand was sore. But once the stone was carved and all shaped out, I added drywall compound over top to fill in between the stones and just kind of give the stones a bit of texture. Not to toot my own horn, but I think these are gonna turn out great. But like all projects that I take on, it took way longer than I anticipated. As always, I was carving well into the next day, where it took me a full 8 hours to cover and carve out the last 2 alcoves. But it was on the last day where I changed my carving technique over to the soldering iron, and I just found this way easier to maneuver, and it just melted the foam away to create cool details that looked natural. This time I did opt for a mask because my face was right up in there, but yeah, I think all these alcoves turned out really great.
Good morning, friends. We are officially on location. I'm so excited. I have to show you this space. It looks so different. Megan did an amazing job at painting. Okay, so all the walls have been lime washed. She removed the paint off this beam, so we have this beautiful exposed beam, and the ceilings were painted brown to give it that like fun, warm, rich wood look. And it looks so good. The vibe in here is so warm. The energy is like shifted. I'm excited. And then seeing all our stuff come in, it's just like, it's gonna, the vision is coming to life. But I'm so excited because I'm not alone today. I brought in a dear friend. I brought in Marty. Yay! Hello. She's helping out with this project because I was like, I'm gonna need some DIY help. We also have Vanessa, of course. And later today, we're gonna also get Josh in the house. So we got a full house of DIY in progress groups. But we cannot start this day without the right energy, and I was thinking we need a cinnamon bun roll. Everybody bring it in.
I've never done this before.
You gotta do the right hand, and then you gotta roll it, and then go cinnamon bun! Do you get it now?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Let's go bring the magic.
It was install day one, and I gotta say I was feeling pretty good. We had to accomplish a lot, but step one was to install the racks and the alcoves up top, which was not going to be easy. I mean, I had to catch Marnie up on my plan, and I knew going in that we would have to customize everything and adjust everything to work around the receptacle and the pipes in the ceiling. So we just kind of took everything minute by minute and adjusted accordingly. Everybody stay calm. That was my motto.
Oh my God, I'm like low-key obsessed with this, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, wait, well, I just wanna test. I feel good. Moving on.
And you know what? Everything was fitting perfectly. Everything was adjusted, but it fit perfectly. Once we got to installing the alcoves, I mean, that is when it got tricky. I mean, I went into this knowing that we had to deconstruct the alcoves to fit around the HVAC and the pipes at the top, but it just wasn't any less heartbreaking to cut into all of that work. But it was fine. It was fine. It was fine. It was kind of like a big puzzle of pieces that fit in together, but we powered through. You all know what you come here for. It isn't normality.
Okay, so check this out. I ended up finding these little corner brackets off Amazon. So now we can connect the 4x4s into the floor and onto the side of the beam. So like those beams ain't going nowhere. These things are gonna be amazing. And I love that they kind of add to the industrial vibe that we kind of got going on in here. So I think this was like a great find. So if you need something like this, I linked it in my description box, super handy. Not gonna lie, I don't think she's going nowhere. Now we gotta secure that to the ceiling and the wall and to each other. Well, friends, things happened today. Disheveled things happened today. But the good news is we managed to get all the pieces up. We kind of had some carnage in this quarter, but it's okay. I'm gonna fix it tomorrow. I got time. I got total time to fix this and then paint it up, and it's gonna be great right now. But like, how good do the beams look? So excited. You kind of have to like trust the process in these situations because like it's all gonna come together. Oh yeah, and Josh is here.
Hey!
So yeah, we're gonna go and sleep and then we start again tomorrow, friends.
Bright and early.
Woohoo! Day 2. We're in it. We're doing it. My goal today is to rebuild all the foam pieces and make it look like rock again, and then I'm gonna start painting. Marnie is doing a bajillion tasks around the space. Right now she's connecting the top of the bench that's gonna go in front of the window to the base that I built. And then she's going to add knobs to our antique dresser, which we haven't really, no, did we talk about this?
We never talked about it. I'm really good at my job. So, as we know, I wanted to either build or find something to fit into that small nook in her studio. This would be storage for all of her notions and thingamabobs. That is a technical term. Megan reached out to me one day and says, Danie, I think I found the perfect antique cabinet, and it was the perfect antique cabinet. It was very old and very antique. I'm pretty sure it sat in a basement of this like old home forever. And let's just say it needed to be fixed a lot. Off camera, I ended up rebuilding the entire bottom drawer, and I had to fix a lot of the structure of it, but it's all good now.
Ready and break! Woo! To creativity! Woohoo! To magic! To fantasy!
To freedom!
Anyways.
Day 2 really just felt like a divide and conquer kind of day. We had a list and everyone had their task.
I am adding wallpaper to this gorgeous unit that we got secondhand. I'm gonna wallpaper the drawers and the inside cupboards.
All right, we'll carve that out in a minute. Looking good. Oh my God, my art kit is coming out. I love this for me. So fun.
It honestly felt like I was building a set for a play or something. I don't know. It was just so fun that this was gonna actually be a real usable space. I was so excited. So this is cool to talk about. I really wanted to add some faux wood detail around the mirror that was gonna be hung in this little kind of like old doorway that wasn't a doorway anymore. So I bought this wood contact paper, and honestly, it was pretty darn good. I could hardly tell that it was fake. So really great buy. Highly recommend this if anyone is looking for a good review of a good wrap. I have linked this in my description box.
It's like that where it's like the sheen is different.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
It looks.
Okay, so let's talk about this wall, because when we originally talked about this wall, we were gonna put a big pegboard on here because Megan wanted a place to be able to just add like her schedule and maybe some, you know, some notions to hang on the wall for inspiration. But I figured we could probably do that on the other wall where there's currently boxes, but there won't be. Opening up this wall for the most epic, the most amazing, the most wonderful wallpaper you've ever seen. And it is fantasy filled, and it is the coolest thing I've ever seen, and I'm so excited. So we need to start putting this on the wall because I'm gonna freak out if I have to wait a second longer. I'm so excited.
So on Etsy, I found a shop called Walladoo Studio that sells premium wallpapers and wall murals, and I found this beautiful fantasy-filled mural. I'm pretty sure magic took over my body because I literally just went, send it! Like, I was possessed. I don't know what was happening, but I just pressed send and I was like, I need that. I feel very passionate about great wallpaper, okay?
Could it be any more obvious?
It was actually called Fantasy Garden, I think. It was so perfect, so kind of Lord of the Rings fantasy inspired, so I just had to. And from the same company, they were kind enough to actually send me a free circular wall decal, which you can see on the wall back there. It's just quite beautiful. I love it. I don't know, I might move it, but for now I felt like that was a good space, a good open space where she could live. It's beautiful. Everything is linked in my description box. Now, I couldn't remember which panel went where. I hadn't looked at the design in quite some time since I had ordered it, but luckily, how helpful for me, because all I had to do was pull out my Milano board on my tablet where we could easily reference the mural right on location.
So yeah, so we'll pull this one this way, and then this piece will probably be the middle.
It's just one of the things that I love about Milano. I can visually organize everything, keep it in one place, all the images, notes, tasks, and then bring it all into the field. It's kind of like carrying your creative studio with you. So how great is that? Wow, this mural looked better than I ever could have imagined. It was just so beautiful. Then to finish off the day, I basically just started painting those alcoves. This was a lengthy process. We had to start with a dark brown color first. Basically the whole stone layer gets this dark brown. It doesn't look very good, but it is a trust the process because we were kind of going for a light field stone look, but you do need to build up the colors to give it that depth. So I'm starting with the dark brown and then I'm layering on lighter colors with dry brushes, and it just really starts to transform as you see the new layers come on. But I'm not gonna lie, that painting took a while. But you could kind of start to see it come together, right? You're seeing the vision now. Every time a new layer goes on, that vision gets a little bit stronger. It was the final day of the install and we had a ridiculous amount of work to accomplish. Starting with new lighting. So there were 2 lights going up in the studio. The first was a beautiful purchased chandelier. This was called the Modern Tree Branch Crystal Raindrop Chandelier. Now it actually came gold, but ahead of time I had Vanessa spray it with an antique gold because the original finish was just way too shiny and not the right finish for us. And then we covered it with a rub and buff to kind of further antique it. This light was so beautiful and it looked so cool before the crystals were added, but I wanted elements that would add that kind of feminine touch to the space, and I just felt like this light would help bring out that side of Megan's brand. It felt so whimsical, it was so pretty and nature inspired yet feminine and kind of opulent, and I loved it. The next light was thrifted. We found this beautiful, massive antique chandelier, and when we saw it for sale online, we knew it had to go into Megan's studio. I wanted something large and packed with personality to be kind of in the living room area, we'll call it, and this chandelier was everything. I loved the antique vibe it brought, and it was just such a good find. Ugh, and it looked amazing. I'm obsessed. It's so opulent yet antique-y, yet opulent. Darling. Okay, so one element that Megan asked for was just a place for people to be able to change their clothes if they come in and just get alterations done. So we talked about creating some kind of space here on the ceiling that all the curtains can tuck away and just be a decorative element. But then once in a blue moon, if somebody does need to change, we have the ability to do it in this little corner here. So on Amazon, there's this little track piece that we bought, and it comes with these little wheels and these little pieces that we install into the ceiling, and then we just kind of create the little U-shaped track that we want, and Bob's your uncle. Oh, I have to show you though. This is what Megan found for the curtains. It's so good. Look how fun this fabric is. It just feels so her, and this like the right color, and it's gonna look so good with the mural beside it. I'm obsessed. So I'm very excited to see these go up. I think it's just gonna add some opulent details. So we're gonna get this installed so we can get changing. We gotta change the way we're gonna make change so people can change. Gotta be the change you wanna change to make change so someone can change behind it. That's right. Put that on a poster. Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that, but we did end up successfully installing that track. It worked great, it looked great, and it's a great find. I will say also, I did get a boo-boo installing the track. There was a point where the piece of plastic, it flung back into my face and then it cut under my eyes. So for the remainder of this makeover, I will have a red puffy eye. It's real great, but just letting you know why it's there. Actually, is it still there? Can you still kind of see it under my bags? After that, I moved on to the windows, which of course I couldn't add real leaded detail, but I did bring back an old favorite and used my lattice pattern window film, which always just adds the right touch of fantasy-filled whimsy. Honestly, I never regret it and I love it. Marnie and I moved on to installing the cork board, which we did do a small little DIY using foam core board from the dollar store and installed that to the wall, and then took a thin cork sheet, cut it to size. I added a bunch of glue to the foam board, and then we just glued the cork down to it. I then added some wood trim with a lovely wood leaf detail on it, and that was it. At this point, we were getting so close to the finishing touches, so I just started pulling up some faux greenery to add up into the alcoves. The mirror was installed onto the wall inside our faux wood frame, and finally the time had come. So excited. We could finally add the garments to the racks. I can't even begin to tell you how satisfying it was to start seeing all of Megan's beautiful pieces displayed on these shelves. Her vision was coming to life. My vision was coming to life, and it was just such a beautiful feeling in that moment. I mean, I was stressed for time, but I was feeling so good about this design. I also made it a priority to display her awesome cosplay weapons. Of course, we had beautiful lanterns that got hung on brackets. Some of us were working, some of us weren't. She did make it look good though, I'm not gonna lie. We got decor into the alcoves, playing with faux candles.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay. All of her notions got into pretty baskets onto the shelf. Oh, and I can't believe I haven't even talked about this yet. I wanted to bring up the main table that was going to sit in the middle of the room. So leading up to the makeover, I ended up finding a local maker to Megan who sold his stuff at a local antique market. He was selling this beautiful rustic looking table with storage underneath. It was on casters so it could easily move around, and I just knew it was perfect for Megan. So we picked it up and now it's in the space and it was perfect. Like, it literally looked so good. Vanessa was working on folding all the extra stock onto the shelves. Her sewing station finally was coming to life, complete with these lovely secondhand stools. And honestly, it kind of just felt like no decor item had its final place. We kept moving it around all the time throughout that day, but everything was just slowly starting to come together. And as a final task for the day, Marnie and I took some remaining wood contact paper and added it above the window to kind of just help break up some of the white and make it look like the alcove was being held up by a wood beam in the back. So it was a nice finishing touch, and let me tell you friends, it was a long journey to get that space ready, and I was feeling kind of nervous but excited to show Megan this space. I just wanted her to love it just as much as I did. So what do you say, let's show Megan her brand new space. Okay, I'm gonna bring you here. Keep your eyes nice and shut. Okay, you stay right there. Okay.
I've been freaking out for like the last 48 hours.
Okay, before you open your eyes, I'm so excited for you because you have spent your life bringing the fantasy to everybody else, but now it's your turn to let me bring the fantasy to you. Are you ready to see your brand new space, the Valkyrie Collection, Atelier? Open your eyes. Isn't this what we like talked about? Do you love it? Oh my god. Isn't it so fun? Look how amazing and like Lord of the Rings this is. And we got some beautiful chandeliers. We brought in your cabinet. You have so much space, and look at all your beautiful clothes on display. Doesn't it look amazing? It looks so good.
You just do such a good job letting everybody else feel their most wonderful fantasy self, and like you just deserve to build the world living in your fantasy, you know?
Woo, yeah.
Want to look around?
I'm gonna look around. That's good.
Okay, let's look around.
Oh my, this fantasy-filled heart is just bursting. This studio makeover was all about bringing fantasy to life, transforming a blank space into something magical, one of a kind, and worthy of a Valkyrie Collection. Every detail was designed to feel like you've stepped into another world where Viking-inspired fashion, bold creativity, and maybe a touch of myth can actually live and breathe. Now, this isn't just a studio, it's a realm where imagination leads and fantasy becomes a reality.
I'm like shaking right now.
I think Megan likes it. I am just so happy for her. And here's a cool thing. She gave me a discount code for all of you who might be looking to bring a little Viking fantasy lifestyle into your world. I've linked her store in my description box, and use the code Danie10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. How cool is that? Sending a huge thanks to Milanote for sponsoring this video. It was because of Milanote that it made collaborating with Megan super easy. If you are a creative looking for a way to manage your next creative project, Milanote has over 100 built-in templates to help get you started. It's free to use with no time limit, so head to the link in the description box and start your own board today. Of course, a big thanks to my wonderful Patreon crew, my DIY family. Thank you for rooting me on behind the scenes. I was sharing some early content around it, and I just appreciate all the kind words and excitement for this project. If you're looking for a place to celebrate your DIY magic, my Patreon is definitely the place to do it. Come join us. It's linked in my description box. Thank you for sticking around to watch this crazy fantasy-filled episode. I hope that you loved it. Share your favorite detail in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. And of course, as always, my friends, stay positive, stay creative, love your magic, and keep on DIYing. Bye-bye.
Yes, this is the cleanest this space will ever look.
Yes, it is.
Ever.
Give me 24 hours and there's just gonna be fabric in different piles.